Good morning. Thank you for joining me from my awkward office this morning as all of our meeting rooms and studio rooms are being used. So here I am in my car. Um,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Congratulations on Beezel. We thought it was really thrilling and some really good scares. Tell us a little bit about the film.
Sure. So we really made this movie in a very unconventional way. We make a lot of short horror films on our YouTube channel, Social House Films, and we've been doing that for a few years. And we finally decided that we wanted to make a horror feature. So we went back east to the house that I grew up in Massachusetts, and we shot a short film that we thought was going to be part of an anthology. When we got back to LA, I cut the movie. We showed it to a lot of friends and colleagues and peers, and we got such a resoundingly positive response that we were kind of galvanized to write what happened before that short film and then write what happened after. We're like, this would be kind of crazy if we just went back to Massachusetts and just filmed like the rest of the movie. So we actually did that. So we wrote this without the intention of actually telling one full feature-length story. It really was intended to be an anthology and just sort of turned into this really interesting story told over 6 decades.
Yeah, and how exciting is that for you guys? Because like you're saying, you intended this to be a short. Now you have a feature film. It's going to be in theaters for a short period of time. Also, that's really exciting. Tell me, what does that mean for both of you as filmmakers, and also Nico for you as an actor who's, hey, I'm going to be in this short, but now it's a full feature horror coming out just in time for spooky season, as we all love to call it.
Well, it
You
probably
guys want to start?
feels
Yeah.
special for you because this is his childhood house, just raised in it for most of your life. And then I had the pleasure of seeing his house like 10 years, yeah, about 10 years ago or so, give or take. And the moment I walked in, I was like, this house is haunted. This is a scary, spooky house. There are cold spots everywhere. And so right around the heels of us finishing that short film, his parents told us that they were going to sell the house. And we thought, this story is not finished. We need to go back to this house. And the window of time to film and preserve this house and actually make the movie we've always thought about making there is closing. So we really had to work quickly, but it was also one of the greatest experiences of our lives. And I think really cool to just preserve all of your childhood memories. Like, this is what we talked about before, like have that time capsule of the movie.
That is what
Yeah.
makes this film significant to us personally, is it really just memorializes this home that I grew up in, that I was scared half to death living in like the early 90s as like a 6-year-old, because it is a pretty scary house.
And then we get
Um,
to invite our great friends and talented actors to come and, hey, would you come to the middle of nowhere with us in New England? Not nowhere, it's Northampton, it's a great place, but come out to the middle of the woods for the first time ever, and you're just gonna stay in the house, we're gonna film there, and just trust us, come on out, come
in
friend.
the middle of a
And that
in the
was
middle of a
Nico.
winter snowstorm, of course.
Yeah,
Nico, tell us
yeah.
about the house from your point of view.
Sorry.
Tell us about the house from your point of view.
Well, so when I arrived, I was like, wow, I mean, this house is really great. Like, it's a big house, but at the same time, it's like really creepy because it was in the middle of the winter, very snowy, and it was super peaceful and cold. And I was like, okay. And when you enter in the house, you can feel that there's some like weird energy sort of thing, right? And I was like, okay. And then it was like, okay, so there's gonna, stuff happening in the basement. And I opened the door and I was like, oh, okay, so we have to go down in this basement. And then they were like, yeah. So yeah, I was like, okay, there's a movie here. And I knew Aaron's work and Victoria as well for many years, and I saw the short films and everything, and I was like, well, I'm really, really lucky to be working with these people, that are super talented, super involved, like creatively, but also as person, like as good human beings. I mean, it was sort of a small movie, but I mean, everything there was like perfect. Honestly, I did, some movies in my life, and this one is for sure like one of the best. Yeah. Yeah.
we we really enjoyed what we really enjoy, of course, about horror is the scary aspects of it. You have certain scares and certain things that sometimes stick with you. Uh, can you tell me a little bit about this, Aaron, of course, about your philosophy on horror and how you approach it as a filmmaker in order to get that with the audience?
I think, well, the most important thing to focus on, with any story is just character. You to make something scary, you have to actually side with the people that you're watching. You have to care about the story that you're telling. I think, I'm guilty of it. I think a lot of filmmakers are guilty of it, sort of focusing too much on, what is like the gimmick of this film, or what is like the scare moment, the jump scare. But what really makes that successful is caring about the people that you're watching on screen and having some amount of emotional depth where you're actually invested in what you're watching.
Yeah, here's where I was invested is when I was a little bit younger, my family moved into this really, really big house. We kind of had a Brady Bunch thing going on. Um, but there was something off about it. I never went, I think in the 2 years I lived there, I went into the basement maybe twice. And then maybe a year and a half, and we all felt certain things. Family would never stay over. They'd tell us, no, we're gonna leave. We're not staying here tonight. We're like, but I mean, things did happen. And finally, one day, some random older person was walking by, just like in a movie, and says, "Oh yeah, so decades ago, this house they used to use it as a funeral home." And then so the way it was kind of haphazardly turned into a house made more sense. I was like, oh, this makes a whole lot more sense. So I think seeing your film in the three different parts as different people go into it made me think of like, oh man, like how creepy are older houses where you don't know the history of it and now you're a part of it. Just like both of you were, you didn't know what, or maybe you did, maybe it was your family house and you're trying to sell it. So that's what I related to it, and that's what made it super creepy for me personally. So that's what I
Sure,
related
sure.
to it.
And I mean, having grown up there and knowing every nook and cranny, I mean, there's a crawl space in between the walls that you can get to from the basement, as Nico is saying. We Because I grew up in that house and I knew that that existed, I'm able to just sort of visualize, okay, like what story can we tell here? And we sort of, cater a lot of the story to the location that we know we're going to be shooting in. It's a lot of this, was not even, it didn't even have to be left up to the imagination. This was based on knowing the location, knowing what we could shoot in, and really taking advantage of every nook and cranny of that house.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Yeah,
what I was like. There's Aaron and Vic, they really used all the aspects of the house, like every little corner to show, like the madness, like the scariest thing. And yeah, that's really well done. Yeah.
yeah, just going into a crawl space, nothing good's happening there. So yeah, we thought it was very well done. And I also
Asbestos
want to
being
ask,
one of the worst things to happen there, of course. But
yeah, Victoria, I wanted to ask you about your character and actually being able to, because obviously things happen. I don't want to spoil too much what happens, but your kind of transformation through the film, how you approached it, and because it was fun to watch.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Um, yeah, Nova is really one of the coolest characters I've had the opportunity to play. It's a fully fleshed out character who goes on a journey. She starts out with this very like honeymoon mentality. Everything is going to be great. It actually felt very on par with my own self. So it was really easy to start as Nova, and then as her arc descends into her journey, which I won't give any spoilers away. um, I found that really fun as an actress to also just be able to play and explore that emotion of you have all these dreams and aspirations for yourselves, and then here they are being ripped away, or you're being rejected by someone, or you're being taken over by something. So I had a really, really great time getting to know that character, and it was just like the coolest experience. So I was really grateful that Aaron trusted me with that role and also sculpted to my talents, and it felt like a really good fit. So I had the best time of my life.
That was very natural.
Thank you.
And for you, Nico, being that Aaron is, that was where he grew up, and he knows from him to play, the incoming homeowner.
No, yeah, yeah. It was as Vic said, it was a great experience. And we also worked a lot with Victoria, the days before the day we were shooting, to really explore and try new things and try a different path. And I think that now you can really feel it in the movie, because we really tried. We had the opportunity to try different things.
And Aaron, I want to ask you about kind of developing the monster, developing the witch, and kind of the different kind of faces that we see through the film. One of my favorite moments was when looking outside the window. That was great. There's a scene in the bedroom. I mean, there's when we get to see certain aspects of who we're dealing with, it is terrifying. Tell me about where you came up with that.
So a lot of our, sort of scare moments were inspired by, well, of course, inspired by my childhood. And then, a lot of that was left up to the imagination. But a lot of it was sort of taken from short films that we made on our YouTube channel. Except now we were able to do it with a little bit of a budget and, a real story behind it and some real motivation. And so we kind of just took our social house films, short scares, and did them 2.0.
But a fun,
Yeah,
if I can,
sure.
I'll add into that. The fun evolution of Beezel was that in the very first short that we initially shot, she really wasn't formed yet. We knew that the horror would be her, but we didn't know what she would quite look like in her full range of capabilities. So in the first, this is something that really came into play for us when we went back to film the rest of it. We had watched the first short, we understood what we needed to do, we sculpted Beezel much more clearly, and then her whole design, and I would say things that made sense to her. She lives in the earth, so what should she look like? Everything kind of like fit really well after that. And that's something that really I think studios more so have that luxury of having it. That would be like with the reshoots budget. Indie films rarely do have that luxury, but because we shot in this really unorthodox order, we had that opportunity, and that was really, really important to make Beezel strong.
I see. It came out. It came out very, really well. My final question for this is for all three of you. We'll start with Nico. What do you love so much about horror that makes you so passionate about it? Why do we love horror? Nico, take it away.
Well, I would say it's mostly, I guess, what you guys named the scare drop, right? When there's something happening and it's kind of quiet, and suddenly boom. This is the thing I love the most. And I don't necessarily need to see like the blood and everything, but it's more like what's happening behind, yeah, and the mood and everything about it, like dark places, and the fact that as an actor you can really explore even more in this kind of movies. Yeah, that's what I really love about horror.
Victoria?
I think that it's the same. I mean, it's the same reason anyone goes on a roller coaster or goes to a haunted house. I know. Well, it's kind of a common answer. I wanted to think of something new, but it's just the truth. You want that little jolt of adrenaline. And I'm actually a little bit of a scaredy cat at heart. So I need the safety net of knowing it's a movie. So that's what horror is for me. It's a safe, scary realm that I get to play around in.
There's a few reasons. I mean, first, so I enjoy watching it just because there's like a solidarity with the people that you're watching it with, although it can be fun to watch it by yourself sometimes. There's a universality, is that a word?
It is.
To it. You don't have to speak English. You don't have to speak the language to actually understand what it is that you're watching. So there's something very unifying about that. You can be from any part of the world and understand fear. Fear is a very basic, universal feeling. And it's just really cool. I think from a filmmaking perspective, it's so much fun to just literally just get your hands dirty and bloody and work with, special effects makeup, work with visual effects, constantly trying to figure out ways to push yourself creatively as a filmmaker and show the audience a magic trick, but then also simultaneously tell a really great story. So it kind of checks off every creative box that I'm looking for while I make a movie.
Yeah, very, very well said. I will empathize with you, Victoria. I am a scary cat myself, but I cannot stay away. I go watch them in theaters as much as I can. And a couple of years ago, I've slowly started going to haunted houses despite the fact I hate them, but I cannot stay away. Um, Beezel was great. We really enjoyed it. We're excited to see what you do next, and we'll continue also to follow your shorts. So congratulations on Beezel, and thank you for chatting with me for a few minutes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.